What if you could change your life? What if the sorrow could become joy and the darkness the light? What if you could heal not only yourself but those around you? Well, you can. This is Alchemy, and these are the Alchemy Sisters. Join psychic Jennie McDaniel and spiritual advisor Mandee Elam for a magical 1-hour journey into esoteric spiritual discussions.
Hello and welcome to the Alchemy Sisters. You are here with Mandee and Jennie. Hi, Jennie. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing really good. It's just 3 p.m. here in the Pacific Standard Time, and it is a gorgeous sunny day in Northern California, so I'm happy to be here.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, it's really nice here in South Florida, too. I enjoyed my day. I got a lot of sun and took my dogs for a long walk. Now I've got some cauliflower soup going in the crock pot. It smells amazing and nourishing with a bunch of fresh herbs I just cut. So I'm always excited about that with summertime, getting a lot of fresh produce and things.
Sounds good. I wish I was going to have a bowl of that after the show.
Yeah, we'll see if I can somehow figure that out in the future for sure. Anyway, if you're just tuning in, you are here with the Alchemy Sisters. I'm Mandee Elam, and I'm here with my lovely, beautiful co-host, Jennie McDaniel. And each week we host a conversation in relation to the multiverse, healing, navigating life, the divine energies, spiritual awakening, and all that good stuff. Typically through our own wisdom and having special guests, we intend to just bring awareness, clarity, knowledge, and free healing to our listeners. Tonight we're really excited because we have Knott with us. And Matthew's a teacher, an awakener, an energetic expansionist, and a catalyst for growth. He has a really nice social media following and interacts there quite a bit, and we're just honored to have a discussion with him. So welcome, Matthew. How are you tonight?
Thank you so very much. It's an honor to be on the show. I'm doing very good, very excited.
Excellent. Oh, we're so excited to have you here. Jennie, do you want to kick off the show and ask Matthew a question and get us started?
I do, and I just want to tell you, I read energy for a living, and yours is phenomenal. You've got excellent old soul energy, and I totally appreciate it. So I'm curious, when did you get into your spiritual path? Were you young? Were you in your teens? When do you remember being exposed to knowledges or awakenings or understandings that at the time you might have thought were normal, but looking back you can see, I was a bit advanced at a young age?
Right. I would say the earliest experience for me was when I was 9 years old, and I was at a church service with my mother. And, they call everybody up there to get saved at the end of the service. So we chose to go up there. And I'll just never forget, it's like you go up there, you get saved, and you put your hands in the air. And at the time, you're accepting Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. And I just remember this energy going through me from head to toe and then back out again. And it's just pure bliss feeling thereafter, something I'd never experienced before. And that planted a seed, if you will, of basically that there's more to life than what meets the eye. And I recall going to the car after the service, and I had asked my mom, hey, did you experience anything while you were up there? And she experienced the same exact thing, and we both mutually confirmed it with one another, that we weren't crazy, and we had, a supernatural experience, if you will. And so that was at age 9, and then many, many years elapsed, and I kind of strayed away from the religious path to an extent. And then basically, probably about 2008, 2009-ish, I began experiencing the passing of certain friends in my life. One of the first ones was a childhood best friend, and he had passed away in a car accident. And his mother shared an incredible story at his funeral that really changed my life, changed my perspective on things. And shortly after that, my manager at the job that I was working at, that he was on vacation from my job and also the military reserves, and he ended up getting in a motorcycle accident where he was cut off, and he ended up passing away from that. And basically, I think it was before his funeral, his sister had shared a story with me, and it was basically she had went to sleep one night. She had cried herself to sleep. She was so distraught of her brother's passing, and she basically had a dream with her brother in it. They hang out. They had a good time, and at the end of the dream, he gave her an acorn. And when she woke up from the dream, there was an acorn cap on her pillow, and when she moved her pillow to the side, there was an actual acorn underneath her pillow. And it just blew me away. I said, "Hey man, that's $1 million story, you know. Thank you so much for sharing that." And it brought back the recollection of a similar story, which you could classify it as a form of after-death communication, when my childhood buddy had passed. And from there, like, the path just opened up so much, you know. You start realizing that there's a connection between dreams and the afterlife, if you will. You start to realize that undoubtedly we are eternal, that life goes on, that our deceased friends or family members, loved ones, are never far away. And, you know, just after that, everything, like I said, began opening up. You start coming across books, opening your minds to various subjects. You know, I think I had like and within a 3-month span, I had like 3, we could say UFO sightings, but for me, they're light ships, scout ships, and that was really incredible. And then you just start experiencing so many synchronicities and life kind of speaking to you in this way that it never had before, and it's just super amazing. And every day that's expanding more and more.
How beautiful! That is incredible, and I think it's just so funny. Jennie will probably agree. She asks that question a lot, and there seems to be some sort of spiritual initiation around 9 years old. Wouldn't you say, Jennie?
Absolutely. I can remembering my past lives at the age of 8. So I started to be able to think and remember and comprehend spiritual understanding from past lives or from the non-physical, however you want to describe it. But yes, it's very interesting. And the UFO sighting, Matthew, approximately how old were you when you saw the several in a row?
Well, I would have to say that was about 6 years ago. So it would have been around the age of 27, which that's a multiple of 9, 18, 27. So that's pretty neat.
Very cool.
And that was
love the symbolism.
Super transformative with that. I remember the first sighting was basically my friend had called me up on New Year's, and this particular New Year's I didn't party at all, and I just kind of stayed inside. And he's like, "Hey," he lived probably about 15 minutes away at the time. He's like, "Hey man, look outside. Look at these lights." And I kind of looked, and I didn't really see anything where I was at, my side of town. And just as I was about to go inside, here's a brown or orange, like amber-colored orb just glowing, and it's in the sky, and it's drifting along effortlessly. And it's a sight I had never seen before. And it started coming upon a cloud, a small cloud in the sky. And my intuition was like, it's going to go behind the cloud. And it did. And as soon as it did, my intuition was like, it's not going to come out the other side. And it did not. And it was like, whoa. And then like talking to my friend was able to actually get a picture of what he's seen on his side of town. And in the picture, you see the same colored orbs, but it was 3 of them in a triangular formation. And so that was really neat right there. And, you know, the second sighting that we had was probably a month later. And that was one of the most incredible experiences I've ever had. And we were just getting out of a drive-thru, getting something to eat. And I was with that buddy that pointed out the lights to me the last time. And he says, "Hey, look, there's those lights again." And it's nighttime, and we pull into the parking lot. There's a shopping plaza right there. And we're looking up in the sky. And there was at least like 40 or 50 of these light ships in the sky. And they were just disappearing, reappearing elsewhere, moving sporadically. And it just completely shatters your world. And for me, that they come in peace, otherwise we would have been gone a long time ago. And in that instant, I wanted to scramble to go get my phone, basically, to be honest, to call my mother and say, hey, like something might be about to go down. It was so many ships. And I go in the car and my phone's not there. I had left it in my car at my buddy's house. And then his phone was dead. And as soon as we get back out, I got back out, all of the light ships had disappeared. And it was as if they sensed my fear, and they do not operate at such a vibration, if you will. So it makes sense that they disappeared. And I'll never forget, either that night or the next day, I went on YouTube and I typed in UFO Orlando, and then there was a video of the exact same sighting that somebody had taken, and it was amazing. And, you just kind of assume it's always going to be on there, whatever. Why else would somebody upload it? They want the world to see it. And I'll be damned if, like, the next day it wasn't taken down. And I could only assume by, like, YouTube, if you will. But,
yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Interesting. That is really, I love those stories. It's so fun. When I was growing up, I loved ghost stories. So my grandma would be telling me, she lived in these old rickety houses and growing up, and she'd tell me about the ghost stories, and I was fascinated. And that's still fascinating to me, but I prefer alien stories now, and that's a good one. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
I loved that story, and it kind of reminded me, I think I'm like the same age as you. I'm 33, and about like 5 or 6 years ago, I was out in Colorado, and the same thing happened. I was like laying in bed looking out, and there were like several light ships, and I wanted to maybe take a picture, and I pulled up my phone, and it like wasn't showing it, and then I put it back down, and then I got like it started coming closer to me, several of them, and I got kind of scared, and it disappeared. And you kind of brought to light something that's really important as we're ascending and awakening and following all of our paths. Fear is a lower vibrational feeling, and it's considered overwhelm. And when we're in any sense of overwhelm, whether it's fear, grief, shame, jealousy, resentment, sadness, anything that kind of makes us feel icky, what happens is we get put in overwhelm, in the universe, and our spirit guides and other beings are like, oh no, you're in overwhelm. Like, I'd love to connect with you. I'd love to help with you, but your energy is saying that you're overwhelmed and you're not ready and that you can't handle it. And so when you can shift and transmute, and as Jennie always, and I always like to say, alchemize kind of some of your fears or some of your feelings, then all of a sudden, as you switch back up into kind of joy, peace, contentment, wonder, all of these amazing things, then you're able to elevate your vibration and shift your perception, and then it opens you up to actually see these things and play around with it.
That's it exactly. And I feel like in due time that we will definitely be experiencing first contact. And for me, it's a matter of us collectively raising our vibration so as to get to their level, if you will, because at the current vibration the collective is operating at, it's just kind of like they know that we're not ready, but they do their work and checking things out and, monitoring our progress.
Oh, yeah. I feel the same way, and I feel like they help us with technology and all kinds of things, and, they're really, I kind of consider a lot of other light beings, particularly Pleiadians and different ones, just very high vibrational, almost like higher than angels, and, like, they're just so mindful of us and what we're doing and whatnot, and, as Matthew said, I fully believe, if they wanted to come and take us out, they absolutely would have already. And same with Mother Earth. Like, as much as I'm an Earth protector and I love, Mother Earth and nature and this world and connect a lot with, shamanic energy and things, at the same time, I'm like, it's the humans I'm more worried about. I feel like she shook us off before and she could easily shake us off again. So exactly. I love that.
Yeah, it's why we've chosen the hashtag or title or mantra for the name of our network, Heart Over Ego Energy, or Heart Over Ego Radio. We really want to be a big helper, a shifter, an alchemizer. We want to help people alchemize fear into curiosity, stress into excitement or understanding. And we feel, just like the Dalai Lama had said, be the change, and it ripples out. And it is a tough job. Us old souls that chose to incarnate now, and in my spiritual teachings, we choose the womb and the time that we come in, and there's a lot of strategy involved in that. And we came here to be front row and center of the biggest shift the world has seen next to the dinosaurs becoming extinct. And we come in as teachers and healers and students and lovers and feelers, and we come in to help the change. And it's the way that I see it, and the way that my teacher, a trans channel, very skillful, sees it is, and I got a download today, speaking of higher entities communicating, that we're doing really well, and we're pushing the ball so quickly that it looks about 7 or 8 years is when we flip the heart over the ego. Now everything's open for change, and free will happens, and I'm just taking a snapshot of the future here, just looking at the energy, but it looks like we're going to do it, and it's not going to be so far off, and we'll be big components and pieces, players, and putting it all back together after that tower falls, which I love. I love rebuilding. It's fun.
Exactly.
Yeah, we tend to pick these lifetimes and these existences to come in here and to help create change, you know? So if anybody who's listening or might be a newer listener to the show, you know, we talk about all kinds of things, but what matters most is where you're at this point in your soul journey. And we all play little pieces, and no role is too big or too small. And it's important to follow what your soul is calling for most and what's kind of lighting you up at the moment. And I kind of wanted to ask you about it a little bit, Matthew. We were talking a little bit about divine timing, and how when you were talking about following your soul, and all of a sudden you'd find a book or another synchronicity would happen or something like that. And I thought maybe if you wouldn't mind, you could tell our listeners a little bit about what you've learned about synchronicity and how that works along your path of enlightenment.
Very well. So basically, for me personally, the universe often communicates with me through numbers. And so whether that's, you wake up and you check your phone and it's 11:11, or let's say even the exact second that you look at the clock, let's say a digital clock, that the time shifts in that instant. And for me, we're each the universe. We're each a universe unto ourselves. And we can look at it as a form of guidance, or even guideposts, or reassurances, that basically confirming to you in that instant that you are perfectly on your path, you are exactly where you're meant to be, doing what you're supposed to be doing for as long as you're meant to be doing it. And, I even see sometimes it could be a descending numerical sequence, 5, 4, 3, or it can be an ascending numerical sequence, 1, 2, 3, like the time. And basically these things are in and of themselves neutral, but if you will, we're each in our own universe, our own world. We're simply sharing the same space or consciousness, thinking that we experiencing the same world, but we're really not. And so we can kind of create our own meanings for these things, and then that then becomes our experience of it. Even I remember one time reading a book titled Matthew, Tell Me About Heaven. And somewhere in it, it was speaking of when we're in the higher dimensions, let's say we're no longer incarnated in a body, that basically thoughts equal instant manifestation. And it gave examples, it said anything from an airplane to an acorn. And for me, the acorn is very symbolic in my personal journey. And in that instant, it's just like the world stops and you just can't help but laugh out loud. It's like you're reading exactly what you needed to read. It just shows the underlying interconnectedness of everything, that truly everything is one, that it's all one energy, one consciousness, experiencing itself in countless forms. And I feel like the more that we're living in alignment with our truth, living in alignment with love and light, the more our vibration is higher, that the more frequently we will see these. And, I've had it at times where I remember one day I had relatives come from in North Carolina here to Florida, and we were going to go to the water park. And I'll never forget, it's like get in the car and we start driving. And I think I had some car trouble right when I get on the highway. And it's just like, it's all good, like breathe through it. And as soon as I corrected the issue, get back on the road, the song on the radio was Elton John's Your Song. And so on my dash, it was saying, all it said was your song. And it was just, in that instant, it was like life speaking to me through that form, or me communicating with myself, the universe, through that form. And so that got the day going. And I'll never forget when we got to that park, it was like as close to the water park, it was like as close to heaven on earth as I've ever experienced. Meaning like everywhere I turned, there was something. There's a leaf laying on the ground. Oh, it's a heart shape. The songs playing in the background, you know, normally it's just a song playing, you're not paying no attention. The lyrics were speaking directly to me. The conversations that people around us were having. And it was so amazing. And I'll never forget, we watched a movie afterwards. It was a Star Trek movie. Can't remember which one. We went to the movie theater. And in the movie, like, you got the main guys like Kirk and Spock. And in the movie, I believe Spock was speaking, and he always spoke like metaphorically. So while I'm watching this, my vibration was so high that day that I'm watching the movie literally and interpreting it literally while simultaneously interpreting it metaphorically. And it was almost foreshadowing things that we're going to experience on the planet in due time. And I'll never forget the one instant where they told Spock, hey, like, enough with the metaphors. The character said that to Spock, and it was like in that instant, it was like God winked at me. Just like the energy was so powerful, it's just mind blowing. It's such a fascinating thing to see. And then you realize that you experience more and more the synchronicities or coincidences, and you just realize that basically that's all that life is. It's nothing. Life is synchronicity. Everything is perfectly situated, ordained, interconnected. It's just all one. It's like seeing through the illusion of separation. And once we can see through that, many things begin to unveil themselves to us, and it's very, very fascinating.
No doubt. In fact, so fascinating, we keep coming back over and over to experience it.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. You know, I think a good thing to address would be the illusion of separation. So we come here and we develop our ego, which is basically the separate self. And, you know, to us, the world out there is separate from us. It's external to us. And if we can just envision that everything we believe is solid matter is actually energy vibrating at various frequencies, therefore solidity is actually an illusion. Nothing is truly solid. It's all energy. And if we break physical matter down to the deepest level, that what it consists of, which are atoms, are 99.999 whatever % empty space. And so if we just picture that everything we think is physical and solid is actually empty space appearing solid, and then the space between everything is quote unquote empty space, which it's not, it's a unified field of energy. And this field, we can say, could extend, it's infinite. It extends as far out as the universe goes. So if we can picture that everything we think of solid is actually energy, or primarily empty space, and so is the space between everything, then there's no room for actual separation. Now, we experience the illusion of it, which doesn't mean that separation doesn't exist. The illusion of it exists. It's just a deceptive appearance. But it's like the ego believes in the illusion of separation. Therefore, it believes it is a separate self. But at the higher levels, there is no separation. It's just one consciousness that's operating all forms. And ultimately, we are that consciousness. Or you could, from the Bible, I am. I am that I am. That I am is the consciousness itself. Presence, peace, bliss, joy, true love. The energy from which everything emanates.
Yep. Agreed, brother. I love it. That felt, yeah. Do you do a lot of teaching at all? Are you a teacher and a coach? And how do you work with people?
I would consider, I haven't stepped out too much in regards to teaching, just beyond what I do on social media, which primarily consists of on Facebook right now. I'm trying to build up my Instagram a little bit, but
we are too. We get tired and bored.
I try, but every post I'm throwing up 30 hashtags, and it just sometimes is a bit much. I love the simplicity of Facebook, but at a certain point, I started posting like spiritual quotes on Facebook, and then I started reading a bunch of books. You document quotes, then you come across various memes. And then I'm coming across like so much artwork. I literally have a folder of like 15,000 memes, 6,000 pieces of artwork. And so I'll try to switch it up, like what I post throughout the day. And that's kind of the way I'm, putting my energy out there now as far as like online. I have had before where I've offered Skype sessions, and I want to start doing that again. And it's basically for a donation, and, I would just connect with a soul they're going through something, and they just spill it out to me. And, you channel your inner wisdom, stuff you gain from personal experiences, maybe applicable quotes that come to mind. And it's just amazing. You just let it flow through you. And in the end, I've done it like 2 or 3 times. You're giving them exactly what they needed to hear. And it's so amazing to witness the transformation and how you letting that flow through you could really help someone on their journey.
Absolutely. Jennie might have some insight into some of the things you've done in maybe past or parallel lives that have to do with teaching and counseling. That's how I roll. A lot of my gifts are very claircognizant. And when people come for readings, I'm like, well, I can try to guess what's going on, or we can just start talking, and everything that we need will present itself. And it does. It just channels through, and it's the most beautiful experience when you can open up your heart space with another soul's and share what comes through naturally. And it's fantastic.
Exactly.
Well, that's funny, Mandee. It's like you're a telepath or something. It's like you're reading my mind. I was just downloading and looking at some past lives, and they came in a little bit when I first got on the show, but now they're coming in full-fledged. So, Matthew, you have a special guest who'd like to say hello, and he doesn't come in very much. He comes in for special teacher types, loves everyone, but comes in for special teacher types. We got Jesus Christ himself, and when you showed me what happened to you when you were at the church and getting saved, I guess we'll call it, yes, you were actually experiencing universal energy, but the cool thing is, and your mom we can branch this out to your mom too, is that you have about 6 past lives where you walked actually with Jesus Christ himself. You went on the ultimate tour, you dug it, you even taught his word after he was gone. You were very much informative teacher, healer type, even after he was gone, holding the space, even kind of like balking at Christianity in some of those lives because it kind of construed the formation of what they were kind of starting, I guess Christianity was. You kind of balked at that because you knew his true word, and you're always going to know his true word, hence the veering away as you got older, remembering there's more than just religion, there's spirituality, or however you want to call it. So, yeah, you got Jesus saying, yeah, I know him, and we spent time together, and many nights we sat out in the desert or under the starry sky philosophizing and talking metaphorically and symbolically and energetically. He's like, he was good friends with my wife, Mary Magdalene, too. He was a friend of the family. And so I'm like, no wonder you didn't want to stop in and say hello. So, yes, indeed, it would be awesome and so beneficial for us here on the planet if you stepped a little bit more into that. You do what you will and you do what you want, no doubt about it. But I'm a bit biased. I want all the teachers stepping forward. We're like, we need us all. We need us all. It's crazy. It's we're on the front lines. It's overtime, guys. No, but Jesus is just saying he's checking out, so to speak. He's going to say goodbye now, but he just wanted to stop in and show the connections and be grateful for your services and all that you've done, even in parallel existences. We like to call them past lives, but they're really happening right now. We're just in this time frame continuum. So, yes, You're a big teacher, big healer. You've done the shamanic work with and without hallucinogenics, hundreds of thousands of past lives in that space, tribal connection. Also in the Asian arts, you're absolutely skilled in other parallel existences in the discipline of many of them, Tai Chi, karate, a lot of them. So lots of discipline in that space. You've been around the block, and that just it brings in your spiritual resume as being really full, hence one of the warrior rogue type souls like myself and Mandee and millions of others who've chosen to come here and be a part of this tricky existence, this disillusion, as you called it. It's fun. I'm glad you're here with us, Matthew.
Ooh, well, that is powerful and beautiful, and I really appreciate you sharing that with me. I haven't really had too many past life, or as you correctly said, parallel life memories, and I feel like we experience those either very early on in our lives or when we are energetically ready. You know, whether that's, you know, something maybe we don't have a recollection because it could potentially interfere with something in our lives at that time. But very, very fascinating, and I really appreciate you sharing that with me.
No, it's my pleasure. I love reading people's energy. I've been doing it all my life, and I do it without judgment, and I'm always wildly curious. So it just keeps it unbiased and clear as I can. So thanks for accepting it. And yes, you're correct. And you know, if we came in with every skill we've ever had, we would be overwhelmed. Not all of us are meant to look at past lives. Not all of us are meant to channel dead family members. Not all of us are meant to see auras. We come in with our own special flair, and that's the cool thing about networking with others like us, is we get to connect with and jive with and, so to speak, jam with other like-minded individuals and display our certain characters and modalities, if you will. So fun.
That's so true. It's like allowing a space to grow into our roles, and even you know, it's like before we incarnated, we chose to implement a self-imposed veil of forgetfulness, so that, you know, we didn't immediately have access to universal consciousness and be all-knowing, because it's just like you would literally not have room for a journey or a quest. So, you know, it's like all the various illusions we may experience, like they all serve their purpose for the experience that we're having. And it's just so amazing. And I really feel like right now that we are incarnated during the most exciting period in human evolution. And, you know, every day more and more are waking up to it. And I feel like social media and obviously the internet, if you will, it just has played such a huge and vital role in the ongoing awakening. And I even look at my own journey like, man, if I had never, you know, hopped on Facebook or anything like that, like I wouldn't have connected with a lot of the teachers that I have and made the connections and accessed the material as I have. So it's like infinite gratitude for that. And it's really neat when you look at how everything's been set up and how it is all evolving. Life is evolving on all levels in some form.
It's so cool. Jennie and I talk about that a lot in this kind of great awakening, and how we're here to flip the heart over the ego and kind of, you know, help to harmonize the planet and humanity a little bit. And we wouldn't be able to do that right now at the rate we're doing it without technology, you know. And there's so much controversy around, you know, we've got the new 5G coming up and all the electromagnetic, you know, issues that are coming in and impact our biomagnetic fields and whatnot. And so, you know, we kind of see it as being able to bring us all together for a while, and then even our internet and our instant gratification and instant technology is going to fall away a little bit at some point here. And that's why Jennie and I kind of like this platform. We kind of like old school radio, because we'll be able to switch it over to that if it ever comes to it. Right. And, you know, it's just about being present and utilizing the tools that you have at the time. Something you were referring to earlier, Matthew, was kind of talking about when we're vibrationally open to receiving messages. And I was reflecting and thinking about kids and how kids, you know, they're much easier and much more open because they're authentic selves. It's before trauma and dramas and conditioning came and compiled and created the ego that they are and whatnot. And then you were talking about how you can kind of choose to step into that vibration. When I'm talking with my clients a lot, I'm like, oh yeah, it's kind of like we got one foot in the 3D, one foot in the 5D, and we're constantly kind of going back and forth, and you choose which one you're stepping in. And so I don't know, I thought it'd be kind of cool if you could talk a little bit about the after death communication that you've experienced and what that looks like and how you invite that in.
I guess typically when I first began experiencing it, that was when my childhood buddy had passed away, and his mother had shared a story. Basically, she had prayed for a sign, and that, he was okay after he had passed and whatnot, and nothing happened at night. And then in the morning, she went outside to go check her mail, and she had like an L-shaped walkway connecting the front door to the driveway. Well, right on the 90-degree angle of that L-shaped walkway was a hibiscus tree, and if I remember correctly, the blooms on it were orange. And she shared with us at the funeral that she went out that next morning, and right there, right where she could see and couldn't miss it, that instead of an orange bloom, that there was a bright pink hibiscus flower on there. And she had never seen it before, and it's just an undeniable sign from him. And among reading or hearing about all these after-death communications, including the story I shared earlier about the acorn, basically, I recalled when I was 9 that I had read in the newspaper, the Orlando Sentinel, before school one morning about a book called Hello from Heaven, and it was basically a collection of after-death communication stories, and I was intrigued by it then, and after I experienced the ones that I had or heard about them, I thought, man, now I feel called to check that book out, and come to find out that the book originated here in Orlando, my hometown, and very fascinating. I also recall after my grandfather passed away on my dad's side that there was a rose bush in front of my grandmother's house that had been pulled out by the roots. And shortly after my grandfather's passing, my grandmother and my father had put an angel statue there in their garden, and for some reason, we seen something coming out of the ground by the statue, and this is like a month or two later, and we moved the statue, and there was a rose bush growing up into the angel statue that was right up over, where we had previously pulled it out by the roots. So that was mind-blowing. And then most recently, my grandfather on my mother's side passed away, and normally... you're like where her bathroom is by her bedroom, that, when you're done for the night, you turn off the lights, go to sleep. Well, one night I had seen that the light was on, and I thought, oh, well, she must be up, like using the bathroom or something. And it was still on for like another 2 hours. And then I woke her up and I said, hey, did you forget to turn the light on? I was fine. No, you're going to remember no matter what. And we kind of joked like, maybe that's grandpa. We weren't sure. So shortly thereafter, for her birthday, I gifted her a session with a medium, and, in hopes of her connecting with her father's soul. And I'm sitting there listening. The thing was primarily for her. And I'll never forget, I said, hey, I have a quick question. And as soon as I began speaking the question, the medium turns to her notebook and writes something down. And I explained to her, we went to sleep and this light was on, and we kind of joked with my grandpa, like, hey, was that him? And she's like, and she holds up the notebook, and right there in big letters is the word light. And so it's just undeniable, And there's that part of you that doubts it, if you will, maybe when you first start experiencing these things, which is, it's just the ego. It's just doubting things because these things are unfamiliar to it. But the soul knows, and it's just undoubtedly so. Like, it happened, and it's as real as can be, as real as us having this conversation right now.
Absolutely. I love it.
You look at it like there's just various forms that they can communicate with us, whether that's during dreams, whether that's in our waking state and we hear audio. We have to look at it like they're in pure energy form now, and everything is energy. So therefore, objects such as an acorn can be manifested out of thin air. A scent, let's say grandma's favorite cologne, like white diamond or perfume, white diamonds, and all of a sudden you smell white diamonds after she passed, but that's been gone for, it's energy, and it's like their ways of communicating with us. It's so neat though. I mean, wow.
It really is, especially once you just open your heart and your mind and your soul up to receiving. That's a big part of it. We have to be open, choosing to be aware enough to want to receive and say yes. If you're present and if you can connect with me and if you can give me some sort of sign, I'm open to receiving. Because when we go in being really skeptical, it's harder to hop into that alignment.
Yeah. It's like the energy is blocked. It can be blocked out by us at how powerful the mind is. But being open to it, man, we're just open to the experiences that life has to offer. Like, that's the way to do it.
Absolutely. It's definitely a better frequency. It's a more growthful and abundant and healthy frequency. Yes. I love your stories, Matthew. Unfortunately, we're getting close to the end of the show. Is there anything that you want to share with the listeners, or can you tell everyone how to get a hold of you in case they want to connect with you and maybe do one of those Skype sessions in the future?
Absolutely. Just wanted to give a quick shout out to anybody listening, whether that's live or during the replays. Your presence here at this time is greatly appreciated, and thank you so much for tuning into the call. I can be reached. My email is illmatic86@gmail.com. illmatic86@gmail.com. And then I'm primarily on Facebook, and you can look me up there, Matthew Knott, or facebook.com/ILLMATTIC86. And right now, that's basically, I also have a Instagram, and my ID on Instagram is the words living our very essence, but between living and our is an underscore, between our and very is an underscore, and between very and essence is an underscore. And so I'm building that channel up. I'm not on Skype too often. However, if somebody would like to have a Skype session, they can feel free to email me or private message me if they'd like through Facebook, and that would be perfect. We can definitely set that up and help them out.
Thank you so much. Mandee, any closing words?
No, I just want to thank all of our listeners. If you've listened before or if you're new, we thank you for sharing time with us and holding space. Matthew, it was such a pleasure talking to you, and I'm sure Jennie and I will be in contact with you. We'd love to stay in touch and see what you're up to and how you're growing. And, yeah, if you're ever interested in a radio show, what do you think, Jennie?
I was going to say yes. Let's message Matthew afterwards to see if he wants his own show or at least participate in some more shows. We love your energy. We love your words. You're authentic. You're humble. It's exactly what we look for here at Heart Over Ego Radio. It's beautiful. We appreciate you. Either way, we want you back on the Alchemy Sisters because you are now dubbed an Alchemy Brother, and you can come back whenever you want to. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for your stories and your words. I'd like to tell everyone that we are the Alchemy Sisters. You can find us at Facebook, /the Alchemy Sisters. We have a lot of fun over there, all kinds of funny, comical, spiritual stuff. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube, Heart Over Ego, and any of your favorite podcast apps. You can find us on iTunes, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, Blog Talk, Spotify. We have all kinds of new shows always being added. Sundays we have a new show called Everyday Psychic. That's me and Drew, Jennie McDaniel and Drew Pillow. We do readings, and it's all kinds of fun and very circusy and comical. On Mondays, of course, you're listening to the Alchemy Sisters. We're here every Monday live, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. That's 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Tuesdays, we're having a new show with Crystal, Radical Spirituality, an excellent medium out of Michigan there. Wednesdays, we have Rain Radio with Leela and Naomi, bringing a lot of truth and understanding to the world. Fridays, we have Womb Magic with Mandee, my lovely co-host, as well as her co-host, Heidi Summers. It's a wonderful show on femininity and energy and womb magic. Thank you again, everybody. We'll see you next Monday. see you both later. Mandee and Matthew will convene after the show and chit-chat a bit if that's okay with you. You guys have a lovely day now.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jennie and Mandee. I appreciate it. And all the listeners out there, thank you.
You are welcome. Bye-bye.
Take care.
What if you could change your life? What if the sorrow could become joy and the darkness the light? What if you could heal not only yourself but those around you? Well, you can. This is Alchemy, and these are the Alchemy Sisters. Join psychic Jennie McDaniel and spiritual advisor Mandee Elam for a magical 1-hour journey into esoteric spiritual discussions.